It's Dylan with DS for Dyslexia. Today we're doing something different. We're going to do an in-person interview. This is Corey Camastro. He's a friend from day one. We grew up together. I'm severely dyslexic and so is he. So we're here today to ask about how you cope day to day and how he gets through his day not being able to read and how extreme it is. How severe would you say you are? Can you read a paragraph?
It's difficult, but I can read it. Like it'll take me a little bit.
When I read a paragraph, right? Say it's a textbook's open. If I read it enough, I get a headache, and then I start to spin. And that was the hardest thing in high school, I'd say, was when you had to write something down in a notebook, listen to the teacher. When you listen to the teacher, you're writing it down, but you have to comprehend it and understand what he's talking about. So when I was doing math in high school, I was writing down random words like Abraham Lincoln, just big key words. And at the end of the class, all I had was Abraham Lincoln and Ford from social studies, for example. And at the end of the day, I come home and I have to study that, and it'd just be a sentence. You have problems with that in class? Or
before Corona, I would have teachers come and help me out. They would slow things down for me. I'd ask them to help me out, ask them to slow down the class so I can at least comprehend what's going on, and so that I know what I'm writing down, so that when I read a couple words, I can understand oh, this is what happened then, that's what happened there. If you look at my notebooks, most of my writing isn't even a lot. It's just a couple words because it just refreshes me on what happened in that time. That's how I really coped with it.
Were you actually diagnosed?
I wasn't diagnosed, but I don't know if you know Dr. Zides. She's the psychologist. She said that I'm severely dyslexic and that I should be taking medication, but I don't. So that's what I've been doing to cope with it. I just read a couple words out, and that's what I understand.
Were you in small classes in high school?
Yeah.
I was too.
Right.
So throughout life, you also wrestle. We both wrestle. So Stephen Tornabry said, after you wrestle, everything in life is easy. I truly do believe that, being out of high school and wrestling. I believe it 100%. And the things that wrestling teaches you is you gotta outwork everybody. You gotta embrace the suck. You gotta cut weight. You gotta go to 2 practices. We did 2 practices a night. That's 5 hours. You can't eat when you get home. Then you transition that into school, and it's oh, I can't read, but I'm gonna figure out what can I do.
Right.
I got from I did kindergarten twice, all the way to 10th grade, not knowing how many letters are in the alphabet, not knowing how to read, not understanding any of it. Most people said it was a miracle. All it did was I worked the teachers. I stayed after. I busted my butt, and I really showed the teachers that I cared. I cared about my grades. I cared about my homework. I made sure everything was done and done right. Whether that's 6 hours of homework for 2 papers, that's what it was for me. When those kids were working 60%, did 20 minutes, got a better grade on it, but I got it done. But I was just happy to hand it in, hoping it wasn't a 0. Now that I've been through all that and I've been diagnosed and I had to throw away my summer going into 10th grade, I wasn't a kid. Every 4 days I was tutoring for 2.5 hours a day, learning the alphabet, learning how to read, catching up to my peers. After that, it was humbling. It's quite a humbling experience. Not only that, but it put a lot into perspective. How'd you find out you're dyslexic? And when you found out, what did you do?
I didn't know I was dyslexic up until I'd say 7th or 8th grade.
How'd you take it?
I took it like anyone else would. Everyone says it's a disability. You're like, wow, I got a disability. I never knew, But I found out, I was reading a book and I couldn't, it was for English class. And I was having I was having trouble trying to read it, and it was really difficult. And I asked my mom to help me, and she was like, what, you can't read? I don't know.
Exactly, I'm so there.
And I never got fully diagnosed, but a teacher in the high school was like, yeah, this is not normal for a person to not be able to read as good as regular people. Not regular people, you know what I mean.
Non-average.
Not average, yeah. It was difficult for me because I never knew, and I thought I was always a good reader, and then I really was having trouble with this book. It had new words, and I couldn't understand
in
it.
every grade, the words get bigger, and it gets more complex and more complicated, and it just only gets harder and harder and harder, and less people know what to do with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hated staying after. My mom would force me, and I hated it for it. I hated it, and I thank her, because that's what got me by. Teachers saw I tried. I stayed after. They were like, good, and that's why they gave me the 65 instead of the 60.
I struggle with the teachers I had. My teachers didn't understand what dyslexia was, and
Most don't.
yeah, my teachers never really helped me.
That's the issue we're having. They don't know how to.
Yeah, this teacher, Miss Park, she helped me out a lot. She actually, there wasn't supposed to be 2 people in that class, but she had someone come in there just to help me out and help me out read what was going on and help me understand what was going on. So I really appreciate that from her.
How were tests?
Tests were difficult. I was never able to finish a test on time, especially English and social studies.
Same.
I was never able to finish a test on time. I always had to come back and not redo it, but come back and finish it, because it was very difficult for me. Because when you have like one of those tests that you only have 30 minutes to finish,
a class period. Yeah.
You only have 45-30 minutes to finish it. I was still on the first page by the end of it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, what? How are you all done? You know? Well, math was a very good subject for me because it was numbers, not letters. Most of the time, I don't know why, but numbers look so different to me than letters. So I never really had an issue with numbers. But letters, when they're so close together,
It's so small.
so small, it's very hard for me to read it, understand it, and all that.
Social studies was a lot of memorizing. Were you able to do that?
With Mr. Pritchard,
Hank Pritchard, he's awesome.
yeah, he never really gave papers out. He always just talked.
I love that.
I love that too, because
Yeah.
it was no papers. I didn't have to read anything.
Exactly.
He would just sit there and ramble on for those 45 minutes.
I take in as much as that as I could.
Yeah, other people would say like, "Oh, that's so annoying." Me, I was like, "Wow, I really know social studies now." You know?
Would you
For
write
me.
down notes?
I like, he would say something, and I would understand it. I'd be like, "All right, what words can I use to understand that?" I would do 4 or 5 words, and I'd read them and be like, "All right, I know what that is," and I'd study it. I'd study those 5 words because I know what he was talking about with those 5 words. You know?
And when you get back a grade of like a 75 or 80, it's like, oh heck yeah!
I celebrated.
Exactly. Exactly. It was awesome to get more than the 65. When I got a 70, I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, I was like, the midterms actually, I got a 72.
Oh nice.
I looked at my mom. I showed my mom. She goes, "Woo!" You know, she was freaking
Yeah.
out. She was like, "Let's celebrate." We all went out to eat. Like it was very like heartwarming to me that they were trying to like help me out through this, and they were trying to get me excited that I got a good grade. You know. But in the back of my mind right now, I'm realizing that it was actually good that she knew I was failing, because she actually, instead of freaking out and getting upset at me, she would be like, "All right, let's try to read. Come on." And
She knew you were struggling.
yeah, so she would try to help me as much as I could, and I love my mom for that. She instead of freaking out on me for not passing, she would try to help me out to get better.
We were driving home from after I was diagnosed. She goes, "How'd you do it?" Like I was apologizing to him in the car. I was like, "I'm so sorry. Listen, I failed freshman year." I'm crying, and he's like, "How'd you do it?" I'm like, "How'd I do what?" He goes, "You got from 2 years of kindergarten all the way to 10th grade. I don't know how to read it." He's like, "I am bamboozled." He's like, "You're a magician. How'd you do it?" And I told him I stayed after, and I kind of did what I could, so the teacher saw I was doing what I can. He was so shocked, and he realized how hard I was working, and he gained more respect for me than he had before, because he realized
That
never
you
gave me
actually
issues.
worked hard,
though.
yeah.
But he knew I was struggling, but he never gave me issues like my siblings.
When you work hard, you get better things in life. That's
Yeah,
what shows me.
and I would work so hard for a 70, and that was my grade.
Yeah,
And looking back, grades do not matter.
yeah,
They
right.
don't. I was getting 70s and stuff in school, and I'm farther than my peers at work. My mindset every day is, how can I improve today? Every day I learn things. I make a mistake at work because I'm human. We're human, we make mistakes. I'll either make a mistake and I'll learn from it, or I'll learn something that I didn't even make a mistake about. I'll write that down in my notebook. I don't read it. I write it down, I close it.
Right, yeah.
And I keep working all day long. And it's just there. But I'll run, or I'll write down my phone and then transfer it to my notebook before I leave for work. And I get to work 30 minutes early. I open up the office because that's what it takes. Early mornings, late nights is the key to success.
Yeah. So what I did when wrestling was a thing for us, I would because you needed good grades to be in the sport.
Yeah,
so that was my motivation. That's how I was able to at least try to do my best I can do to just go to practice and get my mind off of everything that I was just working on in school. Like that's what I would do. I would just work my butt off, get at least 65 so I could stay into the wrestle, get my mind off of it, even though it's hard and you have to suck weight and all that. Just get my mind off of it, and it really helped. It helped release pressure, release like anxiety, all that stuff that I was feeling during the school day.
I can completely relate to that. Freshman year, I failed. I don't know if you knew that. You did, because I was in your classes after that. Where are you when it's time for homework?
I would usually have my mom sit next to me so she can help me read through like paragraphs and stuff that the English teacher given me. With English, I had a really tough time with the books and stuff. My mom would read to me so I wouldn't have to read it. But then like some paragraphs, if they were like small paragraphs, she would hand it to me and be like, just read that small paragraph.
You would break it down?
Yeah.
Did you ever do the paper in school?
Yeah, with the paper.
Blank paper, and you do sentence by sentence?
Yeah, I tried.
Helped so much.
It helped a bit, but like it still got me dizzy.
I was self-conscious about it. Because remember, did you do the big classes with 2 teachers?
Yes.
I was always self-conscious when the other teacher would walk over to me and she'd be like, here's the paper. I felt like every other kid's like, that kid's stupid. I hated when kids called me stupid because I knew I wasn't. But then I started to believe it, and I was like, yeah, I am a stupid kid, so I'm going to embrace it.
Right.
And then after I had to do that summer of tutoring and I threw it away, and I was like, no, I'm not the stupid kid because you were on a boat all summer while I was learning the alphabet.
Right.
We played the commercial game. So we did the paper, and like you said, she'd cut down it, she'd read it to me, and then she'd ask me questions on that paragraph. And that's how I learned. And she'd write it down for me, but she'd ask me questions. And after that, she'd do the commercial game. So we'd do it, and we'd watch a certain show. But when the commercial comes on, it's homework time.
Commercial thing, that's an amazing thing that your mom made because you have a little fun with it. It's like a game. I like that. That was a great mom thing to do.
Yeah.
And I wish my mom helped me out like that, but what we did was instead of having a little fun with that time, she would just try to get me to read more, because I figured
slow pace.
Yeah, like I figured that if I read more, I can get better at it. You do something enough, you're gonna get You do anything enough, you're gonna get better at it. So she would like take little paragraphs, like 3 sentences, let's say. She would give me a paper, and she would do that for me.
The paper.
Yeah.
Yep.
It was good for me.
What would you tell freshman year Corey if you talked to him?
I would tell him to stop playing video games, get up, and try to read a book. Don't waste your time on things that like don't matter in the long run. Focus on the things that matter, that can change your life. I would just put it in small segments during each day. I would do like 5 minutes a day. Just read a paragraph. Try to get myself to read better and faster every day.
Say somebody comes up to you and they ask you, hey Corey, I see that I've got to trust you. I'm embarrassed about it because somebody's come to me with this. I have dyslexia, I don't know what to do. What would you say?
I would tell them to just calm down. It's not anything to be upset about. You're not stupid. You're a very smart person. It's just you have something that's blocking you in the way of learning. So what I would do is just try to read. Don't read all the time. Just read 5 minutes a day. Try to get like paragraphs done a day. Try to get at least 2 paragraphs a day. Get bigger. By the end of the year, you read a whole book. You know.
So where are you now? So now, leaving here, what are you doing? What are you changing? Because I believe in the truthful quote: "Change nothing, nothing changes," and do not say "I can't." How can I? So what are you gonna do from here on out? Where do you want to be in 6 months?
From 6 months from now, I wanna at least read 1 book. I have this book that I was slowly reading, but now that I see like your perspective, I never knew your full perspective on this. Now that I see your perspective on it, it's motivating me to read a book, and I really want to read this book. So I'm gonna read it not as fast as I can. I'm not gonna rush through it, but I want to at least read it and understand it, because it's very hard to understand when you have dyslexia. You read something, you're like, what did I just read? And then you have to read it over again.
All right. Thank you guys. This has been Corey Camastro, and that is how he gets through. Corey, thank you for having me.
Thank you for letting me.
All right. Yeah.
What a wonderful world.